writer friends. Welcome to Let's Write Scripts, brought to you by Arc Studio. I am your host, Micah Craddy, a WGA screenwriter and the head of writing at Arc Studio. And if you're looking for screenwriting software to write your next script, hey, check out Arc Studio. You can start for free. There's a link in the description, or you can just Google it. Today, we are going to be doing 3 timed writing sprints during Let's Write Scripts. It's going to be a great time. We're going to be writing, and in the breaks between the sprints, I'll be answering screenwriting questions. And we're going to have a very creative, just like fun, supportive, energetic time. Before we get into it, I want to know, where are you and what are you writing today? We get people from all over the world tuning in to Let's Write Scripts. Love seeing it. And also, hey, if you're just here in the US, love that you're here too. Let me know where you are. And what are you writing today? What kind of project are you working on? Are you working on a pilot? Are you working on a feature? Are you working on a short film? Some other creative project like essays or a novel or poetry? Or are you just kind of like at work and you're working on like a spreadsheet or something and you just want some creative company? That's cool too. Get in the chat. Let me know, where are you? What are you writing today? Those are our normal questions. And then I like to throw in a discussion question to get our brains working, because, maybe you're working on something else. And now you're trying to shift over into creative mode. So our discussion question is, how do you believably make a big change in who your character is over the course of your story? How do you believably make a big change in who your character is over the course of your story? So we all know that, in most stories, there is change. A character changes, but the degree of that change can vary. Sometimes they're pretty much the same who they are. And other times they undergo a drastic change. And in those kind of stories where there's a drastic change, it's tricky, right? Because you're starting them off as one person, and at the end, they're another person. And in a TV show, you can do that over the course of years. Think of like Breaking Bad, how Walter White changes over the course of many seasons. But, a movie is only like 2 hours. So how can you believably make a big change in who your character is over the course of your story? This is prompted because I was thinking about The Godfather this week, and I was making some shorts about kind of screenwriting lessons that you can take from The Godfather and how Michael Corleone changes over the course of The Godfather. So that's kind of what prompted this question. But I want to hear some thoughts from you guys, if you have any, on how do you believably make a big change in who your character is over the course of your story. What are some pitfalls? What are some strategies? Let me know. I'll share a few thoughts of my own. If you're feeling it, please like this video, hit subscribe, turn on all notifications, all that good YouTube stuff. Leave a comment. That's also helpful. Spread the word about Let's Write Scripts. And if this is your first time, I'm so glad you're here. I kind of gave a little description of what this is, but basically Let's Write Scripts is a time for you just to dedicate to working on your writing project. So they're not prompted writing sprints. It's just open-ended writing sprints. I'll put a timer up on the screen, play some vibey music, mute myself, and shrink kind of off to the side. And during the writing sprints, just work on whatever it is you need to work on. And then during the second break, and then in the breaks in between, we chat a little bit about how the sprint went. And again, I answer screenwriting questions. So if you have any, maybe specifically about your script, or just screenwriting questions in general, particularly the craft of screenwriting, the actual writing, love to answer those, get into some discussions about that kind of stuff. And then during the second break, I'm going to show the sandwich of the week. And if you're wondering what the sandwich of the week is, you got to wait until the second break. I love seeing people in the chat. Joshua, welcome. Adrian in St. Louis working on a short film today. Fantastic. Good luck on that. Joshua's in Atlanta, an actor writing on some scenes to shoot for your demo. Oh, that's fun. So it's kind of like a short film, like that is for you as an actor, though, instead of just like as a director. Well, I guess you're doing everything. You're writing, directing, and acting it. So cool, man. Good luck. Cash in Arkansas, working on a novel, November project, 300 words of 50,000 done. So, hey, you only have 49,700 words to go. So you're almost there. Zoe, hey, back to you. So glad you're here. Brian in Jacksonville, working on a graphic novel. And I make a believable character change by associating the character with the big change and remaining consistent. All right, cool. Christian in South Carolina, trying to figure out the details of the midpoint on your feature. That's exciting. I think you already watched the video I did on midpoints. But I looked at the midpoint of Parasite, and just kind of like use that as an example to talk about some of the things that midpoints can do in general. That's on the Arc Studio Screenwriting YouTube channel if you haven't watched it. But also, if you have any specific questions about it, feel free to drop them in the chat and we can talk about it later. Pam in New Mexico, working on your ROM dramedy, feature length, and also short film. That's a new idea. Throwing heartache at a character can make them change and make them flaws. Ooh, and give them flaws. Yeah, so interesting. I think that's interesting. I think so. You can make a change by throwing heartache at them. I think you can probably expand that to any sort of, you can call it trauma or setback or challenge in their life, right? If you knock them kind of off whatever pedal they are, give them some sort of disappointment or challenge, that is going to force them to change. I love it. I hadn't kind of thought about that as one of the techniques, but I think that totally makes sense. William, think about change in specific moments. Walter White does change gradually over the seasons, but to me, 90% of his change comes in those very first commitments over the first few episodes. I think that's really interesting. Yeah, you have these big moments where the character is changed. And I think oftentimes that happens when they're forced into a decision, right? Where they have to make this decision. And one thing that's helpful, and this was one of the things I was going to share, is in those moments where they're making the decision, if they're justifiable to the character, right? If the character thinks that they have a good reason that even kind of goes with their current moral code, then, they'll do it. So like in The Godfather, because that's the example I've been thinking about, Michael Corleone, he starts off as like, he's not involved in the mafia, right? He's this good guy. He's not involved in the family business. But then his family comes under attack. And so his first decisions, the first kind of things he does, they're kind of like a mob guy. He does them to protect his father, right? So that's something that's justifiable to him. He's protecting his father. He's protecting his family. And so that kind of gives him a justification to make this step down a path towards a different way to doing it. So yeah, I totally agree that you have these big kind of turning point moments. And if you can set up the turning point moment in such a way where one, they're justifiable, but also the stakes are really big. Like they have to do this because, for instance, again, with The Godfather, Michael feels he has to do this or the bad guys, the enemies are going to keep attacking his father, trying to kill his father. So in his sense, his mind, it's justifiable because he's protecting his family. And the stakes are big because if he doesn't do this, if he fails, then his father is going to be killed. So if you have stakes and you have justification, those can really help in those big moments. Ciaran Walsh, continuing on the feature from last time, jotting remaining scenes on cards. Oh, fantastic. Kendra in Virginia, we're writing a feature script based on your mom's childhood. Oh, cool. Shay in Florida, working on a short today. I think it's important to give the character a way to see another perspective, either from another character's point of view or letting them fail. It humanizes them. Oh, that's also really interesting because there's a thing about characters that oftentimes they have some sort of viewpoint at the beginning, right? Some sort of belief about the world or about themselves. And you can challenge that viewpoint. And oftentimes that will come from another character who will directly challenge their viewpoint. You see this a lot, in like superhero movies. Like I always think of like Black Panther is a great example of this, where you have the original kind of viewpoint of Wakanda and their sort of isolationism. And then Killmonger comes in and says, no, this is wrong. We need to be active. We need to be fighting. And then that challenges the initial viewpoint. And then the character comes to a third viewpoint that's different from the original and from the challenge. So there's kind of like some truth in the original viewpoint. There's some truth in the challenging viewpoint, but they're not quite right. But if you knock those two together, you can get the third thing, which is kind of the thing. And that kind of goes back to this thing called the Hegelian dialectic, basically, where you have the thesis, which is the original idea, the antithesis, which challenges that idea, and then the synthesis, which is sort of is the result of the conflict between those two ideas. So yes, definitely, that's a lot of just to say that challenging the character's viewpoint, another character challenging it, can really lead to some great stuff today. Williams, taking it easy today. Not too much stress before your driving test tomorrow. Wish me luck. Hey, good luck. Hope you pass. And yeah, have some chill writing sprints today. Maybe do some free writing, whatever, man. Just take it easy. And Thea, welcome from Doug, Delaware. So glad you're here. Quan from Atlanta, plugging away on a short film. Like a lot of the dialogue, mostly working on the formatting. Cool, man. Good luck today. Sheila in Chicagoland, revisiting script edits for coming of age stories. The character goes through some changes. Yeah. I mean, coming of age stories are great also because you have a character oftentimes with a kind of naive, perhaps, view of the world, or a world or a passive worldview where they're like, they're a child. So either they don't fully understand the world or they haven't really actively taken part in it yet. And so you can get really big transitions in those kind of stories where their worldviews are changed, or like their place in the world or how they are acting in the world are definitely changed. So that's often great. Juno, a little late today. Hey, no worries, you're here. We're ready to get some writing done. Let's go. I think I think we should get into it. And Nigel from Atlanta working on TV pilot, feeling great about it. And awesome. And Thea, you should be co-writing in Arc Studio. That's what I'll say to that. All right. So I'm loving it. I'm feeling the vibe today. We are going to do some great writing. We're going to go into our first writing sprint right now. And this is the chill writing sprint, the 15-minute writing sprint. It's the warm-up writing sprint. And again, if you're new, what's going to happen is I'm going to put a timer for 15 minutes. We're going to get a countdown. I'm going to put some chill vibey music on. I'm going to mute myself. Also, by the way, there's some construction noises in the background. Apologies if you can hear that. But during the writing sprints, I'll be muted, so you'll be free of that. I think they're cutting concrete or something, which is that delightful sound that I've been hearing all week, which is great for my creativity. But yeah, so we're going to do a 15-minute sprint. And for the 15-minute warm-up sprint, I really like to say just lower the bar. Oftentimes it's just kind of you're using this to transition kind of into your creative mood. Maybe you're reading over what you had before. Maybe you're doing some free writing, whatever it is, no worries. Just like, don't stress out too much about like word count or anything like that. Just kind of try to get in that creative zone. So 15 minutes on the clock. Let's get some music going. And I'm going to catch you guys on the other side. All right, and that brings us to the end of the first writing sprint as we do a very chill transition back into talking so that no one gets jump scares, which happens sometimes when I'm too excited at the end of the sprint and I just start yelling into the mic and everyone who's in the writing zone freaks out. Anyways, welcome to Let's Write Scripts. If you joined during that writing sprint, I am so glad you're here. This is Let's Write Scripts, brought to you by Arc Studio, and I am Micah Crowdy, WGA screenwriter and head of writing at Arc Studio, and I'm so glad that you're here. If you're doing that sprint, I want to know, how did it go? Are the muses with us today? Did you just hit the road? Hit the road running? That's what I wanted to say. Did you hit the road running? Or were there obstacles on the road? Were there potholes and speed bumps and traffic and crazy drivers? As I just stretch this metaphor for all it's worth. Yeah, I want to know, how is the writing going? Are we feeling good? Or are we struggling? And if we're struggling, are there anything specifically about your script or your project that you're struggling with? Any questions you might have inspired by your struggles, or any general questions about the craft of screenwriting, about character, about story? Sorry, I was saying Corey because I was trying character and story at the same time. I get so excited about characters and stories. I just want to cram them together into one word. But please get in the chat and let me know. That was a pretty good writing sprint for me. I'm working on this I have a couple new ideas. I think one thing I'm going to pitch and one thing I'm going to write, and I'm working on this thing I'm going to pitch. And it's like I have the setup down pretty quick, but there's sort of like the meat of the movie, which is oftentimes the hardest to figure out, because the middle of your movie is often like what your movie is. Like, it's like when they're doing the thing that your movie is. Like if it's a heist movie, it's like, well, the middle of it is when they're doing the heist. And so, yeah, making some progress. Still got a lot to go on this, but I'm feeling pretty good in kind of some of the ideas that I'm playing with and some of the things that I'm doing with. Welcome to Precious, who joined right before that sprint. You joined back after being gone for 2 weeks. Well, so glad that you're back. I hope those exams went well. Finished another feature-length script in that time. Wow, that is fast. Plotting a new one this one. Good to be here again. So glad that you are here. We got Autumn Storyteller, who is, Zoe first. Muse has left me for weeks, but I got back to writing a couple days ago. I got to say, writing really boosts your mood. It does. I mean, I know I've said this a lot, but oftentimes when I'm not feeling great, I'll realize that it has coincided with the period of not writing. And I think the causality can go both ways. Sometimes you're not writing because you're not feeling good, but I think also sometimes you're not feeling good because you're not writing. Because one, like the creative expression, but two, just like also like I love writing. And so it's a thing that brings me joy, and it's a thing that does like make me happy to do. So glad that you're getting a mood boost, Zoe. Autumn's doing NaNoWriMo, exciting. So I don't know if you guys have heard of NaNoWriMo, National Novel Writing Month. It's a thing where you write 50,000 words in a month. I tried to do it a while back. I did all right. I got like 30,000 words. And then I just kind of like fell out of love with the thing that I was writing at the time. This was like years ago, but awesome. Congrats. Best of luck on National Novel Writing Month. And so glad you're here. This is like a perfect thing to do for NaNoWriMo. Joshua, so far so good. Built off your outline before, starting to feel like a short film though, not just a scene. That's great. Yeah. I mean, by the way, speaking of the videos I made earlier, I have one called How to Write a Short Film, which is a good resource that's free and for you to use on the Arc Studio channel. But yeah, I mean, you definitely want to have it. You want there to be an arc, right? And we were talking about character growth earlier. And I think sometimes you can do that in a scene. You can challenge someone, and at least, especially, show the range of the character over the course of the scene. If you have them sort of start in one state, be challenged or face some sort of problem, and have to move into something new. Cash is struggling. I think I'm writing outside my genre. I usually do my best writing as comedy, but I'm still trying to write serious drama about deep topics. So yeah, not very well. I mean, remember, they're not mutually exclusive. Like, some of the best dramas have comedy in them. I mean, comedy goes to how people react to situations. We were talking about this last week or 2 weeks ago about, how do people react to something that happens? someone getting bad news, they can burst out laughing sometimes because of like the absurdity of it. And there are a lot of absurdities in life. So don't run away from the comedy just because you're writing about deep topics, like even like Schindler's List, which is about the Holocaust, is one of like the most serious things and like horrible things ever. Like Oscar Schindler's character is kind of funny at times, so like even in like dark moments, there can be light. So don't be afraid of the comedy. Brian's running at a tepid pace today. Maybe we can turn up the heat a little bit. Glad you're here. Cool. All right. Kelly from Kansas. Muses are not with you. Worried that my main character doesn't change enough. Characters don't it really depends on the kind of movie, because characters don't always change a ton, like oftentimes, especially like in genre movies, a character can be challenged. But if you think of like Westerns, and like the characters often are pretty much who they are. Superhero movies, they're challenged. They might have to grow. They might have to adapt. They might have to compromise. They can still kind of be who they are though. But like, there is some kind of change in their perspective, in their values, in their priorities, in what they want or what they're willing to do. So there is some sort of shift, but it's not necessarily like they're always becoming a different person. Some movies, there is only kind of a smaller change. Pamela, what a great sprint. Been trying to write about a relationship between characters without judging or shaming my choices. So doing this sprint, I just freestyle wrote about these two people. Awesome. I love it. I love free writing. Like that's just, I will always say that. It's fantastic. All right, let's keep writing. So that was the 15-minute writing sprint. And now we're going to move into the 25-minute writing sprint. If anyone has any other questions, we'll get into this. But yeah, I think we're going to move on to the 25-minute writing sprint. I like to think of this as the Goldilocks writing sprint, because you're warmed up and you're not yet tired. It's the middle writing sprint, oftentimes where I do personally my best writing. And I think a lot of people kind of feel that way. Sorry, I was just seeing some other comments coming in here. Still stalled. My main project's been going through it for what feels like a long time. Still just journaling, try to block myself. Yeah, I mean, the only way out is through, I love it. I love it. Cash is saying, I think my main problem is not writing comedy. I'm doing that. I can't write deep. I mean, I kind of feel a little sympathy with what you're saying here, because oftentimes when I'm aiming for deep, I end up with forced or unnatural. Honestly, just try to be honest. Try focusing on your characters, having honest human reactions to struggles, to problems, and if you just kind of focus on that, just sort of like having these be real people, honestly, with flaws, with hopes, with dreams, with disappointments, any of those things, if you just kind of focus on that honesty, then you sort of reach deep naturally, I will say. So trying to be serious, trying to be deep, that can be forced. So I would maybe suggest trying to focus on honest and human. Use your own fears, your own struggles, things you see in the world, all that kind of stuff, people in your life, but like go for honest. Yeah. Oh, we were talking about character change. Yeah. And Anthea says sometimes the character circumstances change and they resist it. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, sometimes when they face adversity and it's trying to get them to break or something, and they overcome it. So change can happen in a lot of different ways in a story. So it's not just like one size fits all. So I love that. Kendra's using the Blake Snyder beat sheet, wondering how strict I need about the page count of the first draft. I feel like my second act is going over the page counts. So, I mean, I don't have any specific advice about the Blake Snyder beat sheet, but I will say that all of those kind of templates and approaches, use them. They are not formulas. They are not laws. You can use them as guides to help you, but you are in charge of your story. So if you find those helpful, you could totally use them as guidelines, but you can do whatever you want. They are not requirements. They are just, it's like you're the writer, it's your story. So do not feel bound by them in any ways. I will say it. Yeah. All right. Cool. I'm glad I held off on starting the second writing sprint because I feel like there were some good things to talk about right there. But now we are going to do the sprint. So I'm going to do 25 minutes on the clock, and some more music is going to get going here. And yeah, we'll check back in after this 45-minute break. We'll show the sandwich of the week. This is great. I'm loving it. I'm so glad we're here. This always lifts my mood. So excited to like just write with you guys and answer questions and talk about story and craft and characters and just like this thing that we're all trying to do because we love it and we feel compelled to do it. So let's just keep doing it. 25 minutes on the clock. I'll catch you guys on the other side. All right. This brings us to the end of the second writing sprint of the 25-minute writing sprint of the Goldilocks writing sprint, where you're warmed up and you're not tired. That writing sprint, well, first off, welcome to anyone who joined during that writing sprint. This is Let's Write Scripts, brought to you by Arc Studio, screenwriting software, best screenwriting software in the world. Check it out in the link in the description or Google it. I'm Micah Crowdy, WGA screenwriter, and the head of writing at Arc Studio. And I want to know how that writing sprint went for those who did it. If you were struggling on the first sprint, did things open up for you? And what went well? And if you were maybe doing poorly or doing well on the first sprint, did things go poorly here, or are you just struggling the whole time? But if you were struggling with anything in particular, please feel free to ask questions about it. Anything, maybe some sort of questions about screenwriting, about story structure, about your characters, about your scenes, really anything, get in the chat and let me know and ask. And I'm happy to talk about those kind of questions. I love talking about that kind of stuff. I have to say, for me, that was like an awesome sprint. Like, I don't know if you glanced up at your screens and you saw me beaming, smiling at certain points, because I figured out some things that were really, I've kind of been banging my head against the wall about for a little bit. And it kind of ties into a little bit to what we were talking about character change. How do your characters change over the movie? Because I had this thing in my movie, this idea that I'm working on, where in the back half, these characters go on a journey. And I know why they're starting on the journey, and I know kind of what the point of the journey is and kind of how the journey ends. But the journey itself, I was just like, what? I kind of know where they're going and like what the point is, but like, what are they actually doing in these scenes? Like, what is the point of this journey for the character? How does it tie into the character's growth, to their change, to what they're dealing with, to their character arc? And I just had no idea. And then in that writing sprint, I thought of it. I think, as for now, I think I have it. And like, that is just one of the reasons why we were also talking earlier about how writing can make you feel good. And those moments, that's like why I write. Because when you don't have anything, like when you don't know where your story goes or what a section of it is, or like what to do, it feels impossible, right? In those moments, because you just don't know. There's nothing there. So if there's nothing there, what do you do? But when you figure it out, or at least you think you figure it out, because like, I don't know, in a week I might realize I was wrong. But for now, I think I'm right. That, like, it's magic. Like, that is joy and beauty and art and creativity in like its purest form. And that's why I write. That's why I love to write, for those moments where you're just like, there was nothing. I didn't know what to do. I was stuck. And then I just worked on it and thought about it. And I did it. And that's also something that comes with experience, is that you don't give them into despair as easily as you used to, because you sort of understand that, you're still going to face problems and you're still going to get stuck, but you kind of understand that, like, if you just put in the time and the effort, you will be able to overcome those problems. And that's how I've grown as a writer. One of the ways I feel like I've grown is that I just have confidence that, like, if I just put my mind to it, eventually I will figure it out. And then you do, and it reinforces it. And it feels really great. So, feeling good. Ciaran Walsh, I saw you beforehand. You're writing something taking inspiration from Thief, Michael Mann's 1981 movie Thief, which is one of my favorite movies. So that's really cool. I think it's probably my favorite Michael Mann movie. There's competition. I like Michael Mann stuff a lot, but that's awesome. I love that, the story you're working on. Kendra was also talking about how she's using Blake Snyder's beat sheet, and wondering how strict to follow it. And I was kind of gave you the advice of, those are just guidelines. They're not rules. They're there to help you, but you are in charge of your script, your story. One other thought I wanted to share about that, Kendra, is that oftentimes those kind of templates, they're kind of reverse engineered, right? So it's like someone looking at stories and then being like, what happened here? So they're applied in retrospect. So sometimes when you're actually writing, it can be hard to use them because it feels like you're trying to force these ideas of yours into certain categories and they might not fit. So if that happens, if you feel like you're trying to force your ideas into these things and it's not quite fitting, that's okay. Real stories don't follow these things perfectly. So don't worry about that. Autumn's gotten some words written. Awesome. How private is one's writing in Arc Studio app? Private. Yeah, that's yours. You're writing. Rockstar, much better this time. Main Dance had a good writing sprint for you too. Fantastic. Joshua, what if it feels like things are happening more to your character versus your character actually driving your story? Does that make for a boring character? Interesting. That's a great question. It's also a big question. I feel like you could say yes and no, depending on the circumstances, which isn't helpful. So I'm trying to think a little bit more about this to be helpful. It's okay for things to be happening to your character. Like there's lots of movies where it's sort of the action is them being driven by. You can sort of think of a story where it's like, a character in over their head and they're trying to do things. But what does that mean for the character? Like, what is it changing about them? How is it challenging them? And at some point, do they make a decision, right? Because you could think of, just for an example, there's like a story about someone who's just kind of a coward and they're just running away and trying to survive, right? Or not even they're just a coward, but they're just a regular person and people are trying to like kill them. And so they're trying to survive and they're just doing all these things. That's fine. You can have that. But at some point, they need to do something, right? Like they need to be brave or to make a change or to take a risk or like to do something. So it's totally cool for the characters to like be reacting to things in your movie, but like usually at some point you do need them to then like respond to this like this turmoil. Things are happening to them. What does it mean for them? How does it change them? How do they act change? How do they say no more? Now I'm going to sort of do something. Does that make sense? So it's totally, oftentimes there's movies that have a lot of that, but there is usually something where they now are going to do something or be changed, by this experience. Sorry, Quan, I'm trying to look at your questions here. Question about Arc Studio. If continued and more are grayed out on your script, does that mean it's automatic to insert those in the script? I selected continue in the drop down. Yeah, no, I think theirs should be there. And you can always just do a PDF check, but that should be fine. Shay, I'm working on a horror short. Sometimes I struggle with pacing because personally I enjoy slower paced stories. Yeah, I mean, there are different pacings of stories, right? And like not everything is going to be the same thing. I think with horror though, if you're going to have a slower pace, you need that tension, right? You need that atmosphere. But like with horror, most of the fright is when nothing's happening technically, right? Like if, the famous scene of, as an example, like a kind of scene, someone is in the scary basement and they're walking around and there's like a monster in there, or we don't know. Like most of it is them just kind of walking around, right? There's not like technically anything happening, but you're very scared. One of the things that can be really important in those kind of things is like dramatic irony. So, there's a famous quote from Hitchcock where, like, let's say there's two people talking at a table, right? And they're just talking. And that's not like tense, right? But if they're talking and the audience sees that there's a bomb under the table with a clock that's ticking, they can have the exact same conversation. And now it's very tense because the audience is worried about this bomb, right? So you can play with kind of sometimes, especially like in genre and horror, what does the audience know? So like a horror example of this is someone comes home at night, right? And they're putting their keys, making dinner, blah, 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 all these normal things. You can do those exact same same scenes, same little bits, but the audience has seen that, you know, there's a muddy footprint on the floor, or that there's a broken window, or that, you know, there's the closet doors open and something moves inside. And now the audience is tense and worried about these. So playing with kind of the information that the audience knows can really help in maintaining tension in slower paced stories. What's one hack for creating a memorable character? Oh, having them always be true to themselves. So I don't know why this just popped in my head, but like, there's a thing sometimes where we're sort of conditioned for reasonableness, to be in society, to compromise, to be reasonable people, to be polite or kind or whatever. And if you have characters that are just kind of like always themselves, you know, they don't compromise, they aren't polite necessarily. I'm not saying that they'd be rude or anything, but like when they can react in a way that surprises the audience because it's not how a normal person would react, but it's so true to themselves, like Larry David in Curb Your Enthusiasm, right? He's just always who he is, and he's going to react how he's going to react. And it still feels surprising when it happens because it's not how a normal person would react, but it's true to him. So when you have a character react in ways that's true to them, but not how like an average person would react, that's one hack. I'm not saying do that for all your characters. Again, we talk about tools, not rules on this show. That's a tool you can use. It's not a rule you have to apply to everything, but that's just one tool. Zoe, if a montage is under 5 action lines, is it necessary to indicate montage in your script? Well, I mean, I guess it depends on like, how is it a montage? I need more specifics. There's also sometimes a thing where if it's on a full montage, you can do a thing called like series of shots, which I'll do sometimes, maybe I'll even just do like bullet points, almost like this shot, where it's not like a full on montage, but it kind of depends on what kind of information you're presenting. All right. So, oops, that's wrong. I was trying to show now it is time for the sandwich of the week. So if you're new every week, I just like to show the best looking sandwich that I made that week, oftentimes the tastiest one. And so this week we have this beauty here, soppressata, switching it up a little bit because I had some soppressata salami. And this is, a turkey and salami on rosemary polenta bread. With the pickled red onions, giving it that awesome little pink in there. Avocado. We got some whole stone ground mustard, some mayo in there. I think there's also some sun-dried tomato in there. But I loved this one. This is just like the salami and the pickled onions, kind of giving the reds and the pinks contrasting. And then you have some purple cabbage in there and the red avocado and greens. It's just like, and you get some of the mustard yellows in there. Just felt like this was a very beautiful, colorful sandwich, which then kind of matches with the stained glass window thing in the background. So pretty happy with how this one turned out. It was a very tasty sandwich, I have to say. I enjoyed it, and it tasted about as good as it looks. Yes. I mean, like I'm probably like half avocado by this point. I eat so much avocado, but like it's the good kind of fat, right? So that's what I like to say. That looks fire. I appreciate that. Elite sandwich making. Thank you. That means a lot to me. My nephew, I've kind of got him into making sandwiches a little bit. And he's like 18 now. He's not a little kid, but he randomly texted me a photo of like the sandwich he was making when I was making like a sandwich. It was the breakfast sandwich that I did the last time, the bagel. And it was just, I'm like, this is what I'm working on. And he was just like in awe. And like when you're becoming an old guy like me, impressing the youth is just like a special thing that you need to hold on to when it happens. So Zoe, because you said that looks fire, I'm going to assume you're younger than me because I feel like fire is a very Gen Z thing to say. Top tier sandwich. Appreciate that, Juno. And also, what is also fire is the story discussion that we were having. So I appreciate that, Juno, because that is really the point here. Sandwiches are the bonus here. Anyways, that is the sandwich of the week. All right. Quick announcement. Of course, we are doing this next week. It's every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific. I'm glad. I feel like actually this might be one of the first times where people weren't tripped up by the time change. Or let me know if you were tripped up by the time change. If you came in late or tried to come early because of the time change, or you were like in another country and didn't know that the time change was happening, let me know. Because I feel like usually people will show up like an hour late and be like, what? I thought I was on time. I didn't know the time changed. But 1 p.m. Pacific on Wednesday, we'll be doing this again. And in 2 weeks, on the 19th, I think we're going to have a special guest, James Hurst, who's a Canadian screenwriter who's done a lot of TV work. And he was on the show in the spring and had a great discussion. Really smart guy. He also has a screenwriting channel with lots of really great videos on it to check out. So that's fantastic. All right. Oh, someone did get hit with the time change last week. So that's great. Man, it is nuts. It is nuts. We can stop it. But the thing is, it's just like, it's really hard because it's like, which one do you want? The thing with the time change is you have to choose, do you stay in daylight savings time or stay not in daylight savings time? And it's like, there's downsides to both. So I don't know, especially because like I'm a morning person. I get up and I walk my dogs around like 6:30. And if the time didn't change in the winter, it would just be like pitch black, like in the winter, when I'm walking the dogs. And like, I don't know. That's not great. But I also don't like it getting dark early. So I think what we really need is we need to straighten out the planet so that it's no longer tilted, so that the days don't get short and long. We just keep them all at the right length. And that's really the permanent solution, is fixing the tilt of planet Earth and get rid of, but that gets rid of seasons, which are cool, because even in LA, where we sort of don't have seasons, we have a little bit of seasons. So I don't really know what the solution is, because we can't fix the tilt of the Earth. You could switch hemispheres every, I guess. I don't know. All right. We're going to not talk about this anymore. And we're going to go into the final writing sprint. We're going to end with a 15-minute writing sprint. So glad you guys came today. It's crazy that like Let's Write Scripts just like boosts my mood and my creative mood every time. Like I am usually at the start not in the mood to write or even like talk about writing. And then I just love talking about it with you guys. I love your questions. Such great questions. Love the vibes. So thank you all for being here. I hope you come next week. Spread the word, invite a friend, open to everyone. We're going to do one more writing sprint, 15 minutes on the clock. If you have to leave during that writing sprint, please say farewell. No worries. Just let me know how it went. And if not, then if you're sticking around to the end, we'll say your final farewells in like 15 minutes at the end. So I am going to, Pam's feeling it, boost your mood. So glad you guys are here. All right. 15 minutes on the clock. Get the music here for the last writing sprint. Tired, might be distracted. Maybe your phone's looking good. Maybe there's some TikToks or Reels, some Snapchats to look at. But let's just try to keep 15 more minutes. 15 more minutes for yourselves, for your work. Let's do it. All right, lock in. All right, that brings us to the end of the final writing sprint for Let's Write Scripts here on Wednesday, November 5th, 2025. I want to thank you all so much for joining. I hope you guys got some great writing done. I hope you guys had fun, had some community, some camaraderie, got to express your creativity, maybe learn some stuff. I had a great time with y'all. Please keep writing. Don't let this be the only time you wrote this week. If you can, write tomorrow, write as much as you can. But of course, we will be back next week, Wednesday at 1 p.m. And I hope to see all of you here, or everyone that can make it. And if you can't make it live, remember, these are always on YouTube, and you can go. Sometimes people just like watch it kind of on their own time, do their own little Let's Write Scripts session. But this is so awesome. I'm so glad that we get to do this together. And I look forward to it. And I will see you all next week, Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific. All right, everybody. Farewell. And here we go. Let's do it. And by do it, I mean leave and do the rest of our lives and come back next week, guys. All right. Peace.